Most people chasing early retirement are missing a critical piece of the puzzle. They think if they just save enough, hit that $1 million mark, or 25 times their annual expenses, or whatever their retirement number happens to be, they'll be set for life. But there's one major issue most people completely overlook. They might not be able to access their own money when they need it most. That's right, you could retire early, have a hefty 401k or IRA balance, and still find yourself scrambling for cash. Because unless you've planned for it, early retirement doesn't just require money, it requires the right kind of money at the right time. And if you get that part wrong, the dream of early freedom can turn into a financial nightmare. See, the traditional path to retirement has always followed a predictable timeline. Work for 40 years, retire around age 65, collect Social Security, and start pulling from your 401k or IRA without penalties. Everything is structured around that specific age range, but things are changing. More people are waking up to the idea that they don't need to work until 65 if they can aggressively save and invest early on. They're chasing financial independence earlier, aiming to retire at 55, 45, even 35. And that's where they run into a problem that most financial advice doesn't talk about enough: access. Not access to opportunity or access to tools, but access to their own money. When you retire early, you might be sitting on a sizable 401k or IRA, maybe even $1 million. But if you're under the age of 59 and a half, guess what? You can't just start withdrawing that money penalty-free. That money is locked up unless you're willing to take a 10% hit, not to mention ordinary income tax rates. And that's what catches people off guard. They hit their so-called freedom number, quit their job, and then suddenly realize they don't have a way to access their funds without getting clobbered. This is the early retirement trap, and it's especially brutal for the middle class. Unlike the ultra-wealthy, who have advisors managing every detail and income pouring in from multiple sources, most middle-class retirees are navigating the journey on their own. They're doing it without private wealth managers or custom financial blueprints. Many of the very rich don't even rely on 401ks or IRAs at all. But for the average person, those accounts are the foundation, which means they have to plan every move carefully, because it could mean major penalties and tax burdens if they get it wrong. They're doing a great job saving, they're investing consistently, but they're not planning for the bridge years, the critical period between quitting work and when they can actually touch their retirement accounts. Let's break it down with a common example. Imagine you're 50 years old and you've done everything right. You've saved up $1 million in your 401k and you think you're all set. You quit your job, thinking you'll live on maybe $50,000 per year. Sounds simple, right? But there's one problem. All your money is in a retirement account that penalizes withdrawals before age 59 and a half. That leaves you facing nearly a decade where you need to access cash, but you don't have a penalty-free way to get it. If you're a single person trying to withdraw $50,000 per year from a traditional retirement account, you'll get hit twice. Once with ordinary income tax, and again with the early withdrawal penalty. By the time both are taken out, you might end up with closer to $40,000, which might not be enough to cover your living expenses. It's a costly surprise for anyone who hasn't built an alternative income stream or planned ahead. This isn't a hypothetical. It's a middle-class money trap that many people encounter all the time. And what makes it worse is that by the time people realize it, they've already walked away from their jobs, lost their employer health coverage, and are scrambling to figure out how to fill the gap. That's why this is such an important conversation. Early retirement isn't just about hitting a number, it's about managing timing. And if you don't account for when you can access your money and how, you can end up asset rich and cash poor, which is not the position you want to be in when you no longer have a paycheck. If you're aiming to retire before 59 and a half, you need to start thinking about bridge accounts. These are the funds you'll live on during the no-access period. This could mean building up a taxable brokerage account which doesn't have the same age restrictions. You can sell investments from that account and withdraw the cash at any time, subject to capital gains, but not early withdrawal penalties. These accounts are the most flexible with no contribution limits, no withdrawal rules, but they are subject to capital gains tax, which is why a lot of people don't use them. One of the most flexible tools early retirees often overlook is the Roth IRA. Specifically, the ability to withdraw your contributions at any time, tax and penalty-free. That's because you've already paid tax on the money before it went in. So if you've contributed, say, $50,000 over the years, you can pull out up to that amount whenever you need it, without triggering penalties or taxes. It's only the earnings on those contributions that are locked up until age 59 and a half. But beyond just contributions, there's a more advanced strategy called the Roth IRA conversion ladder, and it can be a game changer if done right. The idea is to gradually convert portions of a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA each year. Since Roth accounts are funded with after-tax dollars, the amount you convert is taxed as income in the year that you do it. But here's the benefit. After 5 years, those converted funds can also be withdrawn tax and penalty-free. With enough foresight, this strategy can create a reliable pipeline of accessible money during those critical early retirement years, giving you more flexibility and less dependence on taxable or penalty-restricted withdrawals. Essentially, you're giving up the tax benefits of the IRA. A taxable brokerage account can be a great complement to your tax-advantaged retirement accounts. While you don't get an upfront tax deduction like you would with a traditional IRA or 401k, the way gains are taxed might surprise you in a good way. If you hold your investments for over a year, they're typically taxed at long-term capital gains rates, which is much lower than regular income tax. For a married couple filing jointly, up to $96,000 of long-term capital gains can fall into the 0% tax bracket. So in many cases, withdrawing money from a brokerage account can be just as tax efficient as pulling from a Roth IRA, especially when done strategically. Here's the real issue. Most people never stop to think about any of this, and that's where things fall apart. It's not the complicated details of each account that trips them up. It's simply that they don't take the time to understand how it all works. It can be frustrating, and honestly, pretty boring. But they get caught up chasing the early retirement dream without preparing for the practical side, the cash flow. They assume, I'll just withdraw from my retirement accounts when I retire, not realizing those withdrawals could trigger thousands of dollars in penalties and taxes if they're not careful. A good tax pro or CPA can really help you figure this stuff out. The problem is, a lot of middle-class people often don't even think about hiring one because they assume it's too expensive, and the cost in relation to their income is pretty steep. CPAs can cost some money up front, but they usually end up saving you way more in the long run. The rich understand this. They don't just see the cost as something to avoid, but as an investment that's totally worth it. The more money and income you have, the more a good expert can save you. Most people don't realize you don't have to be a millionaire to get that kind of help, and skipping it could actually end up costing you way more than what you'd actually pay for the advice. Falling into this early retirement trap is especially problematic for the middle class because unlike high earners, they don't have as much margin for error. If your plan is tight, let's say you're living on $45,000 to $60,000 per year, a 10% penalty could destroy your budget. That's $6,000 on a $60,000 withdrawal, and that doesn't even include the taxes you'll owe. That's a serious hit when you're not earning income anymore. The reality is that early retirement done wrong isn't freedom, it's stress. It's realizing you have money on paper but can't access it. It's watching your investments grow while your checking account runs dry. It's getting hit with serious penalties, and it's trying to course correct after you've already left the workforce, which isn't easy to do when you're older and job options are fewer. Early retirement isn't just quitting your job, it's creating a life that works without a paycheck. That means more than having enough money, it means having access to the right funds at the right time without large penalties. Figure out how much you'll need each year and where it will come from. If your 401k is off limits until 59.5, what funds will you tap into at 50 or 55? Planning for those in-between years is key. Diversify not just your investments, but your account types. Don't rely solely on tax-deferred accounts. Build up your taxable brokerage account for flexibility and use Roth accounts strategically. Contributions can be withdrawn anytime, and conversions can bridge the gap if planned well. Ironically, some people who seem best prepared, big 401k, low expenses, no debt, are the ones who struggle. They've saved well, but haven't planned how to access those savings. Bottom line, early retirement without access to your money is just a costly break. You're not financially free if your funds are locked up behind penalties and restrictions.